Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce lab by Ecomcy, the place of A related to Amazon, FBA, parallel, and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy, and today we bring another special guest. His name is Thomas Baker, and he's the founder and CEO of Ford Baker, which is one of the top consultancies out there when it comes to marketplaces, specifically marketplaces such as Amazon, TikTok, which is something that actually we're going to be focusing the conversation around. We know Amazon is getting very competitive. A lot of people is looking into ways to diversify, not only in the shape of revenue but also traffic and awareness. And today the conversation is about understanding how TikTok can be that a new alternative for your brand and how you can effectively maximize the best out of it. So Thomas, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hi, Vincenzo. Thank you for the invite. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. And I guess if you don't mind, just give us, a quick intro about yourself in case people don't know you, and then let's dive into today's conversation. Yeah.
So I'm Tom, founder and CEO at Ford Baker. So I've been in e-commerce for over 15 years, and specifically within the Amazon space for about 8 or 9 years. I think it is now, maybe even a bit longer than that. Started in-house with a toy company, and then started freelancing, and then developed the agency as it is today, Ford Baker. So I really specialize in client strategy and kind of the bigger thinking with our clients, and what that looks like in terms of product launches, international expansion, and also multi-marketplace expansion. That's obviously something we're going to talk about today. So looking at how businesses can get the best out of the major marketplaces, and what that means for them from a strategy, operational, budgeting point of view.
Awesome. So I think I'm sure with all the expertise and that you have, and of course all the clients you work with, which is something that we just we talk about before going live, is you have a lot of insights about what is happening with the whole TikTok panorama. Like we see TikTok being everybody's mouth. Like you go on LinkedIn, everybody's talking about case stories about what is working, what is not. But at the same time, that means there is a lot of noise. It's very difficult for people to know if it's actually a bet you should take, because especially as an Amazon seller, we know we already encounter so many costs when running an Amazon brand, inventory, advertising, and now bringing TikTok into the mix can definitely make the whole operation so much more complex. So I guess with all these interactions you're having, and all these things you're doing internally with your clients, tell us more about what you're learning in terms of how TikTok can be a good alternative. Like, why TikTok? I guess it could be a good starting point.
Yeah. So that's the most important question by far. So the reason that TikTok Shop has been so successful, and there is so much noise around it, is because it has become a kind of competitor, if you like, or complementary to Amazon. And the reason why it's complementary is because it's fantastic at product discovery, whereas Amazon, less great at product discovery, but amazing at distribution and international expansion and all of those kind of things. TikTok Shop is brilliant at pushing product in front of people and creating awareness for product, and also creating demand for product, importantly as well. So it's not just visibility for visibility's sake. It actually creates intent to purchase, whether that's on TikTok Shop or people going off to Amazon or off to the brand website as well. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. It's sale is a sale, but it's amazing at creating that discovery. And obviously from an Amazon point of view, when there is a lot of pressure on cost, whether that's increased FBA costs and inbound placement fees and all that kind of stuff, plus continued increases in cost per click, increased competition, you've got to find a way to cut through all of that. And the old strategies of just plowing on with Amazon and trying to increase market share with such a huge amount of search volume, yes, that still works to some degree, but it's getting harder and harder. So you've got to find a way to diversify, and TikTok Shop is often like the next kind of place to look at, as I say, because it does give that just something that's very, very different to what Amazon can offer.
Cool. So I guess now, taking that into consideration, something that's also very important is understanding the nature of your product, because what I have also seen is that definitely is a good avenue for people discover your product and engage with audiences that otherwise you wouldn't tap into. But I also heard that depending on the nature of the product, specifically price points and things like that, it can significantly shift the experience from being positive to negative, right? So I guess my next question to you is like, do you also see TikTok being a place where potentially is an opportunity for all type of brands, or you're seeing that this is more driven towards a specific sector? Maybe things are more friendly in the camera, like things that are fun to make videos about, or how to unboxing, like things like that. What are you experiencing with that as well? Yeah.
Yeah, so that is definitely different
Hmm.
with the TikTok shop. So you're absolutely right. Things that are more demonstrative, visual, will tend to do really, really well. But you don't have to have a really demonstrative product to do really, really well on TikTok shop. It helps, but it's not the be all and end all.
Yeah.
For example, health and nutrition is one of the biggest categories on TikTok Shop, but it's not a visual product. It's supplements, powders, gummies, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we talked to a phenomenal amount of businesses in that space about leading with TikTok because it has become the kind of go-to place for those types of products. There are definitely products that do not suit or are not suited to TikTok Shop. So I would say more kind of functional products or more kind of specialist products. So
Hmm.
definitely nothing like looks like B2B type products, office products, anything like that.
Yeah.
That's not going to fly on TikTok Shop. But obviously, that's like hugely popular on Amazon. Things like DIY or just larger ticket items are going to be harder to sell. I would keep an open mind to it though, because there are some avenues which you might not expect to be popular on TikTok Shop, but are very, very popular. So your kind of general product around the house, personal
Hmm.
care, cleaning products, all of
Yeah.
that kind of thing is really, really popular. Toys is another great example that that can fly, obviously particularly around the holiday season.
Cool.
So yeah, I think the ones that tend to struggle are higher priced items. It doesn't mean that a premium product can't sell on TikTok Shop. It just means if we're talking it's something that's above $100, £100, €100, then it's gonna be much more difficult to sell that on TikTok Shop. Ideally, what you're looking for is something that's got innovation. Ideally, is demonstrative. There's something visual about it. Something that's having a positive effect on people's life, and obviously you can work on that with the positioning of whatever content's being created or how things are being
Mm.
advertised. But it's that kind of aspect of, yeah, how's this making my life better, or enjoying something more, or some kind of moment in time and getting the most out of that. So yeah, you can create things and be creative around the product to make sure you've got the sort of a different positioning for TikTok Shop than what you might have for Amazon as well.
Cool. So now, with all these things being said, like assuming that of course, we potentially find we have the product that's the right fit for TikTok, and it's complying with all the examples you just gave us. Something that I also get asked a lot is the timelines associated for actually,
Yeah.
TikTok really playing out in terms of a strategy. Because I think especially we Amazon sellers, come from this kind of mindset where we have instant gratification on Amazon. Even if most likely you're not going to be profitable, it's very common that on your first day of listing a product, you couldn't be making sales if you're running PPC and things like that, which in TikTok not necessarily might be the case, especially if
Mhm.
you're playing more the awareness game. So I guess my question is like, how you actually define success on this whole thing, like, because I know you can play only the awareness game, which clearly that has no KPI associated with revenue, whereas in the other side it has all coming down to, I'm actually putting money in my pocket or not, right? So what are you seeing? Like, is people more focusing right now on awareness, or people is more now really assessing if this is actually giving any revenue or not to my business?
Yeah, so there's definitely a period of time between
Mm.
deciding to launch on TikTok Shop and actually starting to drive sales. And that kind of goes through, there's the normal kind of account setup, which you would have to do with Amazon and every other kind of marketplace anyway. What we do find is that, if people are not familiar with TikTok Shop, it can be quite easy to fall into a trap of getting the compliance information wrong or business information wrong and that kind of thing. So we do talk to a lot of businesses that have tried to set up their TikTok Shop account and got stuck. And we provide like an account creation service for that exact reason. Not something we do with Amazon, but we do with TikTok because it has become a particular pain point and they're very sensitive to regulated markets and all that kind of thing. So that's one thing to bear in mind in terms of like timelines and all that kind of thing. The second thing, probably the more important thing really, is that the majority of sales will come through influencers. So I'm using creators. That's the language of TikTok. So creator marketing, that will drive on average about 70% of sales on TikTok Shop. Might be a bit less if a brand is really great at like live shopping, for example, which a lot of sales. We've just seen a brand in the UK do like £2 million worth of sales on a live live stream in a day. So it varies obviously with the brand and kind of what they're suited to, but on average about 70% of sales will come through creators. Now, how do you get creators to then go and promote the product? So there's a piece of work that needs to happen before that of which are the right creators to work with. How do I attract creators to work with my brand? And then just all the sort of practical aspects of making sure they've got free samples, making sure they understand the brand, the product, who your target audience is. And then they're going off and doing their own videos and then publishing that. And then there's some promotion behind that as well. So naturally, there's just a period of time because there's a process that needs to be followed. That can be speeded up by working with essentially like talent management or UGC creator type services. So you can essentially get a package deal of like, I need X number of creators, send out the products and off you go. And they've kind of got a ready-made network of creators that you can start to work with. So that gives an immediacy, but you don't necessarily have the same control over which type of creators that you're working with. And they're paid on an upfront fee, whereas if you're doing it yourself directly in TikTok Shop, that's all done on an affiliate basis. Therefore, they are incentivized to drive the sales. It's a very different kind of outcome. There's benefits with immediacy if you really want to get things going very, very quickly, but longer term, kind of working on the affiliate basis is always better because obviously everyone's incentivized to drive the sales. So we would say like from launch, there's a period of time, maybe up to like 6 weeks, where there's no sales. You're doing all of this work to like prep, research, get the product out there, work with the right creators, build the campaign, get that live. Where there's no sales coming through. But then what you want to then see is obviously those creators working for you, do more with those creators, and then find other creators that fit the same profile and build it up from there. What you might then do is introduce advertising. So once that's kind of starting to start up with the creator marketing, you can use advertising to boost the creator content, get more visibility for their videos, which is a great thing to do from a relationship building point of view with creators that you want to continue working with, but also that would drive sales. And then there's a whole ream of other kind of TikTok ads solutions that can be used as well.
Cool. So now something here that I would like to go a little bit deeper is on the influences of things. Something that is always very confusing is at the scale that this has to be done, because some people might say maybe only need 5, or some people you need 100, you need 1,000. Like when you actually make the right judgment of how many you have to actually make an impact in terms of the the impressions that you need and engagement to really take things off on TikTok. So from your experience, is there like a number of people should use as a guide in terms of, if you're not going to use at least 50, 100, don't even bother? Or what is your experience with that? Like how you make a judgment around that?
Yeah, over that first 3-month period, again, on average, we're looking for about 250 creators who are publishing their shoppable videos. what we strongly advise is to work on a hero product. Don't try to like put all your products out there and just kind of hope that people pick them up or whatever. Have a really kind of focused effort around a hero product. Put all your kind of investment into that. A hero product, you don't have to be like too like overcomplicated. Essentially, it's usually going to be like product that's already working really well on Amazon, and then bring that over to TikTok Shop. As long as it kind of meets the other criteria that we kind of talked about earlier, then that's going to work well. But yeah, about 250 really over 3 months is what's going to have impact, and we're talking about like significant impact with that. Obviously, that means that there needs to be a lot of outreach to get 250 over 3 months. You know, that might be talking to, well, definitely I say talking, outreach to at least 1,000 creators, you know, up to like 2,000 to get that many coming through. Now, again, you can improve that conversion rate by, you know, an agency like ours would already have existing relationships with creators that we can obviously tap into. That's much quicker. We obviously get a better response rate from the creators that we're already working with. So that can speed things up as well. And there are like other third-party like solutions and that's all they do. They will just give you a package of creators. Nice. So there are ways of like supplementing that number of creators. But yeah, if we're talking like significant sales
to make really any impact.
Yeah, you know, by that I mean, and particularly at the start, you want to have that kind of critical mass, like lots of people talking about the product at the same time. And that's partly why a hero product is really important, because you don't want 250 creators that are then talking about 10 different products. You want them all talking about one product and create the buzz around it. And you get your more bang for your buck that way.
Yeah. So now with this, I mean, to understand, of course, the scale of influences that we need to really be impactful. Talking about impact, like something that I'm very keen to also learn, you know, from the strategy you're implementing with your brands is like how you actually measure that impact beyond TikTok, because something that we hear a lot going now back to Amazon is that a lot of people recommend, you know, create your awareness on TikTok, create a lot of UGC content, like really push people to discover your brand in terms of people that is discovering your brand on TikTok and then go to Amazon, because that allows you to navigate sometimes the cost of running a business on Amazon. CPC is sometimes so expensive that it's not really feasible anymore. So what are some of the methodologies here we can implement? Because how, for example, I could know X amount of influencers, in this case, the 200 influencers, actually been impactful on my Amazon business, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. So there's multiple ways of looking at this. There are some businesses that will use creators on TikTok and then try to drive that traffic into Amazon. And there are obviously benefits to that, because then you're only managing one shop, as it were, not having TikTok Shop alongside Amazon. And it's essentially a traffic generating method to get people onto Amazon. There are obviously downsides to that, because the conversion rate on that will be lower than if you kind of kept everyone within TikTok Shop. And it's obviously much easier to track everything if it's all kept in TikTok Shop and that kind of thing. But there are certain times where that's a kind of valid strategy to take. And you can obviously use Amazon attribution links, and it works, roughly speaking, to give you an idea of what's coming in. So that's one way of looking at it. There are studies out there which show the impact of, perhaps more so on the TikTok advertising side, of the effect that does have onto Amazon. So there's a service provider called Phosphor, who we did a white paper with a couple of weeks ago, just talking about that relationship between TikTok and its influence on other channels, whether that's Amazon or D2C or other places, and comparing that to, let's say, what impact Meta has on other channels as well as D2C versus kind of what Twitter does. Not Twitter. No one advertises on Twitter, on TikTok or Google Ads or whatever. So they did a big study, working with some really significant brands, and it was clear from their data, and that they are an attribution tool, that $1 spent on TikTok led to I think it was like $1.8 of sales, and then 80% of that was actually attributed to Amazon.
Wow.
So yeah, so there's a significant relationship between TikTok and Amazon. That's partly why we've put together that kind of single solution of TikTok and Amazon, because there is this halo effect of because it's product awareness, partly because people are still unfamiliar with TikTok Shop, not necessarily wanting to buy product in TikTok Shop, or they'll go off and find the product on Amazon. You definitely see that halo effect. In fact, I'm doing advertising for Phosphor here, but their product is called Halo. Their actual tool for that reason.
Interesting.
It's a really interesting product. What I would say, like, you don't need to go out there and go and subscribe to some expensive attribution tool.
Yeah.
There is a sort of element of common sense and logic to it. Yes, you won't be able to piece everything together perfectly, so on and so forth, but we all know that people do these things. You will be able to see it in some of your sales data. So if you're focusing only on one product and then suddenly you see a spike in your sales on Amazon, you know it's because of the TikTok activity. Then you can kind of look at blended ROAS and all of this kind of thing as well. So, I mean, that's definitely a conversation that we're having more and more, is actually looking at what's the total marketing spend across marketplaces and what's our total sales across those marketplaces as well, and kind of blending that data together. Again, it's not perfect science, and it doesn't need to be, because you could spend forever trying to perfect that, but it's just enough to be the indication of what's working and what influence it's having across different channels. So I definitely go with that idea that I'm trying to think of the Jeff Bezos quote where he goes with, if the anecdotes or that telling you something, then follow the anecdote. And that's kind of what you need to go with these things. You know, if you're doing the things right on TikTok, it will increase the sales on Amazon as well. You'll be able to see it in the data, but you won't be able to perfectly match it. But that's fine. But as long as your sales are growing and it's profitability is in line with that, that's fine.
Awesome. Cool. So now I guess start coming to a closure here. Something I really want to make sure we bring to the conversation before we end is like, what are some of the mistakes we have to avoid? Like, we've been talking about the benefits, the requirements, and things to consider. But I'm sure you also have seen a lot of mistakes, especially people that come to you because they're encountering those mistakes. So what are some of those things that you would say, that's definitely something people need to stop doing?
Yeah, so there's a few things. So I mentioned about the account setup, and the only reason I keep mentioning that, because, like, honestly, I get like 3 or 4 inbound calls a week going, TikTok shop account's been suspended. What do I need to do? So I get more of those than I do about Amazon. So, like, making sure you got the compliance and the business registration documentation, trademarks, category authorization, all of that kind of ready before you set up or try to set up is really, really important. I say, like, we see people that just get completely stuck with that. And people should know that TikTok support is the same as Amazon support. So if anyone in this space will know what I mean. So that's really important. When it actually comes to the marketing activity, there is the hardest thing is a cold start. What I mean by that is creators can see the sales history on all products. Actually, everyone can see the sales history on products on TikTok Shop. It's there. It's kind of that number of units sold is shown on the
Which is, for example, a good idea for pro research. You're gonna know what to sell. Just
exactly.
Look at that.
Exactly. Yeah. So for a creator, in an ideal world, they would want to work with product that has got a sales history on TikTok Shop, because obviously that means it's more likely that they're going to earn their affiliate commission on that. So you have this issue of you've got no sales history, so you're confident in your product. How do you get good creators to engage with you? Fundamentally, that comes down to the commission rate that you're offering. So we would always recommend going with a higher commission rate to start with, and then bringing that down over time. Once you've kind of proved everything, you can see the sales coming through, then you can bring it down. But really, you've got to do certain things, an investment for future growth. Same kind of concept that we have with Amazon, right? We're going to invest in Vine. Ad costs our A cost is going to be higher when we start, all this kind of thing. So it's a similar kind of idea to that. Commission rates vary a lot, but they'll kind of settle between like 15, 18%. But a lot of businesses would need to go higher than that. So that's one of the biggest reasons why people fail, is because they're not willing to, or don't know that they need to go with a higher commission rate. The other thing that people would do is try to work with too many creators. So we've seen businesses, not clients of ours, but like people we've spoken to, like sending out 1,000 free samples a week to creators with this sort of spray and pray approach, and it's hugely costly. Like I could kind of understand it 18 months ago when just anything went, and people didn't really know what was working, what wasn't working, and you just sort of, well, as long as you've got enough product and cash behind you could do that. But I would not be recommending like trying to do that. I think there definitely has to be that balance between the quantity of creators and also the quality. And there's also like brand risks that are associated with that. You lose control of all of that. So yeah, trying to work with too many creators is definitely something that people get wrong, and it leads to lots of confusion and failure ultimately.
Cool. I appreciate that, Tom. So I think that's perfect place to leave today's episode. I'm sure, like this goes so much deeper, and that's why I want you now to share a little bit more about how people can work with you, people can reach out to you, because I know that's where you specialize in. Your team can definitely add a ton of value. So tell us more about that, and then of course I'll make sure I put everything down below so people can find you. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we will offer a free consultation for any business, really, whether on Amazon or already or not on Amazon or TikTok at all. Just to really understand like what marketplaces can offer for them. Which one should they go with first? How the two kind of complement each other, all of that kind of thing. So if people want to book a consultation with me, they can do that through our website, fordbaker.com. They'll see the link at the top of the homepage there, and that will come through and book into my calendar.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So thank you so much, and hopefully see you soon one of the upcoming events. Yeah, let's keep in touch.
I love that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, Vincenzo.
Take care. Have a good one. Bye bye.